It makes me sad that you don't put a new building up there, but I do refuse to pay the amount of taxes it would cost for that. The facility would probably cost me $40,000-$50,000 a year in property tax.
How long have you had your business there?
I've been there 30 years now.
Oh, really?
I started there in '85.
I should have stopped in when I had an 1986 Monte Carlo SS.
Oh, yeah.
Then I could have gotten wheels, the car I'm driving now.
You should have kept that car, that's a valuable car.
Sure is.
The car you're driving now has very nice wheels. The spokes are very...
Oh, yeah, but they're not the
Dressy.
kind, they're not the kind, those just came with it, Patrick. Not the kind he sells.
I fully understand your aspect of what goes on, because there's only so much money, you can spread it so far, so I understand that.
As I say, it truly is a balancing
I know it
act
is.
across the board.
I do that with business all the time, I understand that. You know, you need X amount of product here, X amount of product there, but you can only have so much of this or that. You don't want to overspend yourself. Just definitely have to watch that.
We're one of the few communities also that didn't lay off, didn't cut services, and managed to give our employees increases within the collective bargaining agreements. They were reduced over the years, but we were able to give them something, which is, as I say, we're one of the few that were able to do that
I know
over when it was really tough.
Finances, but my concern going forward is the escalating cost of everything. It just scares me when I look, you stop and think about it, look at the growth going on, what really has to cover. I know there were master plan meeting, I unfortunately got to go to one, I wish I got to go to more of them. And one of the things they talked about was the South Coast Rail, in the next 5 to 7 years, it's gonna go on the other side of the bridge. That's gonna make us a huge bedroom community. That's really not gonna help at all. I see the growth rate going crazy once that goes into play. A lot of people will come on to move here, they'll get on the train, they can sit there for a half hour, 45 minutes, hour, do their work on their laptop before they get in the office. That's going to be great for a bedroom community. That's not going to really help us on the other aspect. That's going to be more drain.
It should be a link to good jobs. People, I would never have worked in Boston if I didn't have a connection to commuter rail. I still use it whenever I go to Boston. If I can get there on commuter rail in the T, that's how I
Oh,
go.
I understand. There's nothing wrong with that. My concern is that if we have this much growth in town now, it's probably going to double a lot once that goes into effect.
It's true. If you are in Boston, if you go in the morning to go to work, the trains are packed, the highways are packed, the buses are packed, and the city just expands. If you're there at night, and I don't mean late at night, 6:30, 7 o'clock, by 8 o'clock, they've taken in the sidewalks, and the only place that has any real activity is the theater district and where the lounges and bars are in the sports area, if there's around North Station or Fenway Park, depending on the season. But it's amazing how the city just closes up at night, and yet during the day, there are lines at the restaurants, there are lines at the banks, the ATMs, the stores, and everything. And really, a large city like Boston, I don't know how it could function without the people that go in there to work,
Oh, absolutely.
that leave town, you know, the 4 or 5 o'clock, whatever.
How would the people function that go in there if that wasn't there either?
Exactly. And the connection, and what you said about South Coast Rail is one of the major people movers
I know, but that's the concern.
across the state.
It will be just the opposite. During the day, we'll be empty, and at night, we'll be full.
That's
That's
right.
going to cause
Right.
a lot more expansion on schools.
That really started happening, and I think Patrick will probably agree on this, that started happening when we lost Raytheon, when ICI and then Zeneca
Yeah.
closed, because there were so many people who lived in town. What he was alluding to at the earlier in the meeting, how as a community, we were together. A lot of us were together because we were working in the same places, or our spouses were there, and even there was more social activity because there were just those connections, that
So it's more of a
togetherness.
community then.
All right, right.
And with the loss of those large plants, you gotta go somewhere to work, and people leave town. And a couple of meetings that we had ago, we talked about volunteer firefighters. when that whistle blew, they came out of the plants or the schools or the wherever and manned the trucks. And the number of volunteer firefighters in town during the day now is minimal because a lot of people work out of town.
Very true.
Because the other concern we gotta look at is all the youth in town too. We don't have any jobs hiring them during the summer months and like that, keeping them busy. So we want to strain on our police force.
But demise of farming. When I was in high school and before, when I was in junior high school, most of the kids that I knew worked on farms during the summer. You could walk to the farm, do your job, walk home, you know.
It was a rare student indeed in the public schools who had not worked on a farm, even if they didn't do it regularly. Everybody had gotten their hands dirty farming. I shouldn't say dirty. Everybody had gotten their hands soiled. There's a gentleman's hands are soiled, never dirty. And all I can say is there were very few in school who hadn't participated in farming. And when we went to Dayton Rehoboth, the Rehoboth students, it was very much the same. Rehoboth was a farming community, just like Dayton, and the demographic was very much the same. And now the fields that we thought would always be plowed and cleared, many overgrown with cedar seedlings and poison ivy and bittersweet. And we look at it, and in the fall it's picturesque, the colors and all, but the fact of the matter is, all of the labor that went into clearing those fields for planting, or for livestock, or haying them, or whatnot, the labor is not there, the work is not there, and we have to decide whether we're prepared to turn our land back over to the coyotes or out-of-town developers, or whether we are going to bring in the means to make the land work for us once again. That's what we have to do.
There is some interesting aspects that could be done too. We have the waterfront there, we could try to see if we get some kind of eco-tourism type thing where people are going to do kayaking, kayak renting.
Well, there is gonna be some
Yeah.
improvements / developments along the waterfront.
There's a lot of little things that.
With grants, right?
Yes, we
Grant
have-
money coming.
Canoe access is going to be improved, a fishing pier. We're going to widen the boat ramp so that larger vessels can be launched from the boat ramp and so forth. The state has a keen interest in the recreational potential, and if the state puts it on the map, puts it on its radar, so to speak,
Yeah.
our local entrepreneurs, the boatyards and so forth, will derive a benefit from the increased attention and use that the port gets. That's very important.
Yes.
If we, the local residents, now there's not a lot of idle wealth in Dayton for investment. In the days when we had major industry, the investment money for it came from out of town. We'd be clear about that. But if we, the local residents of Dayton, invest in and harness the potential of the riverfront, it will remain ours. We will share it with the world undoubtedly as tourists come and visitors and so forth, but it will remain ours. But that gem of a waterfront will be, it will pass from our hands into the hands of others who will control it. If we do not, it will not simply be idle. If we, either the Daytonians are going to make it what we want it to be, and it will prosper the community, or outside investors will take it over. There's no question of that. That waterfront is too priceless to be idle. And we need to be the ones in control of it for the sake of future generations.
You know, in the past, I brought stuff forward in the stewardship program that Mass has and like that. You know, that's the other side of things I like to watch is conservation. It seems like housing itself is on its own. Everybody needs a place to live, but nobody looks at the more important things. Conservation and business growth in this town is both crucial.
Absolutely.
In fact, I think I delivered the packet to you on that stuff once before.
We're fortunate that our Conservation Commission did acquire Broad Cove,
That's good.
right from 138 out, east. And that certainly is a very worthwhile investment and has potential, not only for an Aggie school classroom, but I think of areas in Canada, in New Brunswick, where you can walk out, along the waterfront, and they've got some beautiful areas.
It's like an eco-tourism type thing, which is very important. That's a growth business that would help out too. There's a lot of opportunity that this town can do on things without having a chemical plant or something nasty in our backyard. But we still do need business here. There's no sustainability without it. That's how I look at it.
Can't hide that. Can't.
It's one of those things, I think the town's gonna have to really weigh out looking at taking a hit in the beginning of trying to figure out where to go with that money for a few years, let the revenue come back in as the businesses come in. The zoning board's done such a great job correcting things with the zoning for business, the overlay districts they have, the mixed usage. There's a lot of great things they've done. They work very hard and diligent on that.
Another big loss we suffered was losing what was the Taunton dog track, when it was a dog track, because of the, not only the tax money, but the number of jobs that it provided for the people in this town.
That's right.
So, and obviously it, I guess it merged with Raynham Park, but that was a booming business in its heyday.
We're gonna have an increased traffic through town in the next couple of years too, with the casino going in town.
The dog track, for people who don't remember it, in its heyday, there was a racing season after Halloween. We would say that the dates actually increased. I guess Labor Day, from Labor Day on, you'd have Rehoboth Fair, and it was in conjunction with the dog track, and then on the fairgrounds right next to the dog track, and then the dates were extended as late as Thanksgiving. Taunton was what was called a winterized track, and the Gaming Commission, which had hearings in both Dayton and Raynham each year to allocate racing dates, never would budge to give Taunton summer dates, because Raynham could not function in the cold fall on the eve of winter. They weren't equipped for that. So the racing dates were always apportioned, winter dates, what we call winter dates, late fall dates, to Dayton, and summer dates to Raynham. Because of the increase in televised late fall athletics, on which there was betting, legal or illegal, football, hockey, basketball, etc., Taunton gradually, from its peak, when there was no televised athletics, there were no televised athletics. That track had between 9,000 and 11,000 patrons a night. There was a reserve police officer on every street corner in the town, paid for by the dog track. They paid for a reserve to direct traffic on every corner of the town. We talk about the Berkeley Bridge needing repairs, being out of repair and so forth. For 2 or 3 weeks, sometimes a month, maybe longer, prior to each racing season, the Berkeley Bridge was closed for a complete makeover. Paint, repairs, structural improvements. The dog track leaned on the Department of Public Works. The Berkeley Bridge closed, and we all bit our lips and we said, well, another dog racing season is coming. And that's what it was, because of the tremendous traffic to the William Street dog track. When the televised athletics and so forth drew people away from dog racing, Taunton surrendered, you might say, raised the white flag. They had what would you call simulcast racing on the West Coast that paid out in Massachusetts, and live racing in Dayton at that time of year, in view of the intractable position of the Gaming Commission, and would not give summer dates to Taunton. Raynham was flourishing with summer dates, but Dayton couldn't have them. Mr. Lindsay agreed to sell this operation to Raynham. And that was the end of it. And with that, as Mrs. Goulart has rightly pointed out, it was, in those days, welfare was a local operation. We had the overseers of the poor, became the Board of Welfare. Welfare cases were taken care of by the local Board of Welfare. The dog track, because one of the arguments against gaming always was that it puts people on the welfare rolls, the dog track made an enormous contribution to the relief fund. All of a sudden, the Board of Welfare did not have that money. We took a hit. We did. We took a hit.
Oh, some creativity, we can start getting business back.
That's the key right there, creativity. We need a lot of it. We do.
I felt like business on that.
Yep. Well, great input. Great input. Thank you very much. I'll accept a motion to adjourn if there's nothing else.
I just want to add one more thing. I want to say a word to Bristol County Agricultural School. Congratulations on the success of another fall show last weekend. From the 16th to the 18th, the fall show at Bristol County Agricultural School, wonderful. The students, Sunday morning there was a rabbit show at 11 o'clock, and one of my neighbors down the street had a rabbit. She's a freshman at Bristol Aggie, and had a rabbit in the show, and it's wonderful. And a bridal bouquet in the gymnasium, you know, with the different florals and so forth. It is a tremendous demonstration of everything that the students at the agricultural school learn, and it's veterinary, environmental, forestry, as well as horticulture and general agriculture. And congratulations to Mr. Dempsey and Mr. Polanski and the school staff, and to all of the students who made it another stellar success. It was a great show.
Very good.
And 29 of those students are from the town of Dayton.
Amen. They are indeed.
29.
Yeah.
A motion to adjourn's been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Good night, everybody. Thank you, Cable, and thank you, Vicki and Mike.